for the next 20 minutes, what we're going to do is going to have a conversation with Raj and Sanjay and just talk about product innovation. The theme for this topic for this day is celebrating the future, and what a good way to start the day talking about people who have dreamt of the future and kind of lived to that. So Raj, if I may start with you, this Jaggle is your 5th entrepreneurship venture and the second one that you have taken to IPO. So could you share with our audience, like, what inspired you to start on this journey of entrepreneurship? And specifically, like, when you get an idea, when you hear about an idea, how do you evaluate that this idea is worth pursuing? Because they say ideas are a dime a dozen these days.
Thank you, Sumit, and thank you, Haisya, for this opportunity. So, my entrepreneurship journey started way back, about 36 years back, when I was about 16 years old. Because my needs were more than my means. Okay, and that is why, what happened is my dad, my brother, elder brother, both were bureaucrats. They had very strict regimen, and, I was studying in Delhi. And Delhi, surrounded with all North Indians where everybody had a factory and they had more means than I had. And, to be able to, map up to them is when I started my first business, which was, at the age of 16, still doing my 10th class. Post my 10th class exams, went ahead, printed some T-shirts and sold those T-shirts. So that is what, my journey started. So to all of you whose needs are more than their means, entrepreneurship is the way out. And that is how I started. My first venture, was while I was pursuing my MBA. These were, in between I did a lot of small stuff, but a public or a private limited company I started, way back in, 1993, which I sold to Patterson Securities. The whole reason of entrepreneurship comes when, you dream. And entrepreneurship is all about, being passionate. It is not for people who are not very passionate about business, should not actually do entrepreneurship. And for people who are passionate, should definitely do entrepreneurship. That is how, I started. And my journey from there, after one venture, the other venture, the third venture, it has, gone on like that. And very recently, we went public with Jaggle, which is, my 5th venture.
No, thank you, Raj. Coming back to you, Sanjay. Not many people wake up in the morning and say, I want to start a company that launches satellites, right? That's not something that most people think about. So how has your journey been taking it, which is clearly a rocket science, right? And more importantly, has the Hyderabad ecosystem helped in this journey of a rocket ship?
Sure. I think there are two parts to this question. One is, how did I start thinking about a rocket ship company? And the second part is, how is Hyderabad adding fuel to that? Right. So to answer the first part, I think, I started building satellites when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
After the success of Chandrayaan-1, there was a scientist from ISRO who had come to our university and said, we as students could actually build satellites. Obviously, I wasn't really sure on how such a big dream can be achieved by a bunch of college-going kids, and eventually we actually developed India's first student nanosatellite from SRM University in Chennai, and during this process of building the satellite, I realized that we're a country with 1 billion people. But there's not a single private company that existed in India at that point in time, building satellites or doing launch vehicles or offering any types of services for the global market. So it was very strange, like when you're doing something and when you're thinking about it, and then you've been there, you've already done it, right? And then this question kept, troubling me on why is it that in a country with 1 billion people, nobody is doing it. And that kind of motivated me to, start thinking about a private space enterprise in the country. And I think to answer the second part of your question on, the Hyderabad ecosystem, I think so if you look at any space mission, right, there are 3 parts to it. The first one is the space segment, which deals with manufacturing of the entire spacecraft itself. The second is the launch segment, which deals with taking the spacecraft and putting it into orbit via a rocket. The third is the ground segment, which deals with operating these satellites once they're in orbit. I'm extremely proud to say that all our missions are actually made in Hyderabad. In fact, we thank you very much. We created history on the 26th of November 2022 by becoming the first private company authorized by InSpace, which is the new regulator for space activities in India, to launch 2 satellites. So the entire spacecraft, every single part of the spacecraft is designed, developed and manufactured in India. And about 90% of the whole system is made in Hyderabad.
Wow.
So I think the Hyderabad ecosystem has a lot to offer. I definitely feel that, generally when compared to the rest of the country, I think Hyderabad entrepreneurs are a little shy. We may not be, there are lots of interesting things that happen in the city that don't get noticed by a lot of people.
Awesome, awesome. No, thank you very much for sharing. So hopefully your advice will make some people not to be as shy and speak a lot about it. So Raj, you are a serial entrepreneur. You are a successful serial entrepreneur. What has been 1 or 2 things that you think you have done well? And on the same lines, what is that 1 or 2 things that you think you will do differently if you do the 6th entrepreneurship?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sumit. So, a couple of things which I did right was right from my first venture, I professionalized the whole management. Never ever dependent on single me. It was that a full team of professionals there, who are experts in their business. So, the strategy is that whether you have a generalist versus, somebody who is a specialist. So I utilized that opportunity because I was a generalist. I hired professionals who were the specialists. So that is one good thing, which has always helped me whenever we want to go deep and, you want to go inch wide and mile deep versus, mile wide and inch deep. It has always helped me to have a combination of specialists and a generalist. Okay, the generalist is able to go, mile wide, and the specialist is able to go, mile deep. Okay, so that's like one of the things. The other was that always pivoted at the right time. Realize that if you do not pivot, any business you take, it is not that from day one what you have started is what you are going to end up with, okay, or whatever you had designed, you will end up with. So that is one thing which I did, which was like the pivot at the right time. Timing was important, and luckily timing happened at the right time for me. The third thing was, always use technology, whether my business needed less technology, but I introduced the technology folks early into the business to be able to see when the scaling happens. Okay, the scaling will happen only because of technology. That is a very, very big piece, a big learning lesson, for me. And whereas my business just did not need technology, but I thought if I do not introduce technology, it will someday affect me drastically, and that decision of introducing technology, has helped me a lot. Couple of things which I probably, would do differently is this time now that, I have some wealth made out of, the stock and that Zaggle is listed, I may not go ahead and raise private equity or venture capital money. So that's one thing which I learned, that, a lot of times when you raise capital, you are also giving, the part of the decision-making process to the investor. So that's one thing which I am very, very careful about. The second thing is that, as I am getting more and more experienced, I am carrying more baggage. Okay, so the thing which I'll do a little bit differently is take a 6-9 months break before I start my next venture. Thank you.
So hire professionals, that's the one. And then introduce technology,
Yes.
whether your business needs it or not, right?
Yeah. And pivoting.
And pivoting at the right time, right? This reminds me about hiring professionals. This reminds me of a quote from Zig Ziglar, who is a famous author, right? He says, you don't build businesses, you build people, and then people build businesses for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. All right, Sanjay, we have a lot of techies in the house. And techies love to build products, very technical products. I'm sure Dhruva is a very technical company. But as a CEO, you know that you can't build a company only on an engineering solution. So what advice would you give to people who are looking to kind of build a company but are coming from a very tech-heavy mindset?
Sure. I think, I'm an engineer, so, early days of building the company, I feel that, there's something called as an engineer's trap, wherein, you're trying to perfect your piece of hardware or software, and, you don't want to release it to customers. Right? You're like, hey, I think there's still room for improvement. I want to add this feature, and then, I'm going to release it to the customer. I think if there's one thing that I've learned it the hard way, I think it's extremely important that, you shouldn't be embarrassed about the first release of your product into the market. It is extremely important that, people try out your products first, and then, you start building on top of that. I think the second part in terms of, building a business in itself, right? So one way of doing a company is, you follow a product development model, wherein, you raise venture capital to build the product, and then, you go out into the market, so on and so forth. The other way of building a business is actually doing a customer development model, wherein, you sort of understand what the customer wants, and, you actually try to sell to the customer even before you build the product, and the customer pays you in advance to start building that product. And once you have that, then, you could either use your own capital, or you can use support from venture capital to become a product company. And I think the bottom line here is, at the end of the day, we are trying to create a business, right? So it is extremely important that you have paying customers first, and, build it up that way. And this I believe works extremely well for companies working in the deep tech sector, space and defense sector.
Awesome. So basically, be conscious of the engineer trap, and then second thing is customer development model, right? As much as you can, probably, right? Awesome, cool. I'm going to ask this question to both of you. What advice would you give to our audience today, people who are looking to traverse the path of innovation? It's not only people are here from, they may be working in an IT services company, they may be working in a product company, they may be working in GCCs, they may be working in startups or looking to start their own, but the path of innovation in whatever space that you are, right, probably have certain commonality in the ecosystem, right? So what advice would you give to our audience? And second thing is, the million-dollar question is is Hyderabad the right place for product innovation?
Sure. So I'll answer the second question first. Hyderabad is the place, for product innovation. You will not get this kind of, infrastructure, the ability to be able to network quickly, You know, it is, if you look at Bangalore, Gurgaon, other places, you know, they have been 10 years, 12 years ahead. But the way Hyderabad has come up in last 4 or 5 years, it is the desired place to be in. So that way, in terms of also the success stories coming out of Hyderabad, and especially on the, you know, technology product side, is just amazing. And I think in the coming few years, what we'll see is that Hyderabad probably would rule all over India in terms of product innovation. That is what is my thought. You know, to answer the first question from my part, you know, on my part, Sumit, is that, see, every entrepreneur who wants to start a business should first think of himself, is he the creator, is he the operator, or is he the executor? Lot of times what happens is, an entrepreneur thinks he is the creator, he is the you know, executor, and he will, you know, honestly become operator. When I say creator, the guy who thinks of the business and, you know, has the vision. When I say operator, he is the guy who will get the execution done from the executors. So first of all, we need to really figure out as an entrepreneur ourselves, you know, where do we lie? And if we want to become, you know, an operator along with executor and be the creator, then you are building a business which is a lifestyle business. So now you have to think whether you want to build a lifestyle business or a scalable business. If you want to build a scalable business, you need to figure out that you want to run a profitable scalable business or a non-profitable scalable business. And if you're building a profitable scalable business, then, you know, the journey could be very long. It is a marathon, it is not a 100-meter sprint, and you will have many pit holes in between, you know, for you to cross. You can stop, you can review, and then you can move forward. But in case you want to scale very fast, you will have to go and raise private equity or venture capital from the market. When you do that, of course, you get partners who are better, who have seen more businesses than you, and then will possibly be able to help you, you know, scale faster. So if you want to grow, you know, scale faster at the cost of profitability, growth at cost of profitability, then the best way is to go, you know, to a venture capital early on and get them on board, and through them, you know, try to raise, you know, money, as much money as possible, as early as possible, because you know, those businesses are built that way. So between lifestyle and between scalable businesses, think of yourself, you know, where do you stand? And depending on that, please understand one simple, very simple concept, that in entrepreneurship, mental capacity is much more than financial capacity. So the moment you have to become mentally strong, mentally you have to become iron there. And one last word is, entrepreneurship is priceless. Please value it.
It's awesome. I like the last line, entrepreneurship is priceless. So, but you also mentioned, which I think I took away, is like, be clear on the role that you're going to be playing. Are you a creator, operator, or executor in the business that you think that you want to build? Awesome, thanks. Thank you, Raj. Sanjay?
Yeah, I think it is extremely important that, you know, when you're trying to become an entrepreneur, or you're trying to test the path of entrepreneurship, it is extremely important to think big and dream big. You know, people overestimate what they can do in short period and underestimate what they can do in a long period. So it is extremely, extremely important that, you know, you have a very large outlook on how your business is going to grow over a period of time. I started my company straight out of college, and, you know, I was talking to investors early on, and, you know, I was saying I'm looking for raising so much amount of capital, and you know, we want to serve so-and-so company, organizations, etc. And then, you know, this investor had actually asked me this question. Okay, you know, I'm going to give you like 100x this money. Can you tell me what are you going to do with that? And to be very honest, I think that was my first lesson of actually thinking really big. That, you know, we were trying to solve a problem, but we were not trying to solve a really big problem, right? And then so when I started thinking big, and I was thinking from a long-term perspective, we stitched this framework on how we would do a full-stack space technology company, like building satellites, launching them, and operating them. And then when I went talking to investors, the feedback was, hey, you seem to be trying to doing a lot of things, right? So at that point, what we did is, one, definitely I didn't leave it at, talking to a couple of investors, but, I spoke to about 160 investors in the country before finding the one investor who believed that, this is a vision that's going to work. So I think it is also fundamentally extremely important for the entrepreneurs to be committed to the vision, right? There will be people who will give you feedback. You will have to go back to the drawing board and refine your thought process and understand if what you're trying to do is right or wrong. So I believe that, the bottom line is think big, dream big, have a long-term outlook in a change. When people ask what's your 5-year outlook, what's your 10-year outlook, I usually say that in a changing market environment, it is very difficult to predict how a 10-year outlook is going to look like. But, when you're thinking big, it's important that you step in. So that you remain committed and you achieve what you want to achieve. And the second thing is, please remember that, when you're building a business or when you have a dream that you're trying to fulfill, giving up on that dream is in your hands. You drop it, there's nothing that you can do about it. You persevere, it will continue to happen at some point. So it is very important to remain committed. Now, coming to the question on Hyderabad ecosystem, I completely agree with Raj. I think Hyderabad ecosystem has a lot to offer. I think there are companies in Hyderabad that have built technologies that have enabled India to land on the moon. So and I'm sure there are organizations like T-Hub, T-Works. There are so many small companies that are willing to work together. So I think the strength of Hyderabad is the ability to work together, to help each other, and grow globally together. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. So what I heard was perseverance, 160 investors, and then 161st helped. So that's really perseverance. And I heard pivotal. So perseverance and pivotal important for product innovation. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Sanjay, for your insights today. Really appreciate everything that you shared.
Thank you
very
so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, audience. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.